Hi, folks. This is Rachel, the OER librarian at Irvine Valley College. This is a one-shot take where I'm going to walk y'all through a concept. It's a lot of me reading slides at you, but it's a way to pace you through some of this content. One of the most frequently asked questions we get at Irvine Valley College is, how do I get paid to make OER or make my class ZTC? What do you need to do? Step-by-step process, all of those things. How do we get pre-approval? And the reality is that it is not a simple answer. So this slide presentation is to give y'all an understanding of the different hoops, as well as get you thinking about what kind of deliverables you would want to commit to. And again, this is a one-shot take. I'm not doing heavy editing because I'm doing multiple of these videos. So please uh, forgive any lack of polished video. So the big picture when it comes to OER, completing your OER will be a huge milestone, but the start of the process is very, very messy too. So just know that there's a lot of big pieces to this. The OER committee are stewards of the funds that we currently have. We also submit resource requests for further funding for our fellow faculty. We review and approve completed work based on a very generic rubric. And then from there, it has to go to the district business office and it has to go to the Board of Trustees for final approval. So stipends are not a quick thing at Irvine Valley College. And just know that the entire process takes quite a bit of time. So please prepare for hoops. When you seek payment for these things, it's not something that I can guarantee, that anyone can guarantee you're going to get it within a month. You have unwavering support from the library, from the OER committee, from the OER librarian. We are here to help you transition your class to ZTC however you want to do it. If you don't want to get paid to do it, it's easy. You set your own timelines, your own deadlines. If you want to get paid to do this work, there's a lot of hoops. There's a lot of compliance. There's a lot of things related to ed codes. So there's just a lot of different elements about this work if you want to get paid to do it. So just be prepared for hoops. So why this process for stipend exists? The Office of Instruction, honestly, very magnanimous and very, very rare for an administration, has allowed the IVC OER committee, which is run by faculty, to be stewards of the funds. So it was a great deal of trust invested in IVC faculty to be stewards of these funds. But that means that we have to have careful documentation that protects everyone, the faculty, the committee, the college, and we have all of the content necessary to do state reporting on the seed funding that was given us by the state. So before the OER is built, you have to have a pre-approval done. Now, if you already are building OER and you want to update it and you want to make an IVC localized version of it, that would still qualify. So a lot of people will teach with OER existing content, identify the content gaps and the needs that they have and say, hey, this isn't good enough in X, Y, and Z. And then they do a pre-approval and they say, hey, we want to make a localized IVC derivative that is going to cover this, this, and this. It's this kind of work. So you can get pre-approval after you've been teaching with OER if it's going to lead to an IVC local OER deliverable, and especially if it will lead to more ZTC sections being taught. Maybe one person in your department teaches at OER with an OpenStax, but they've identified that it's lacking in this, this, and this. You're willing to create basically a department-wide ZTC book, and that you could actually get pre-approval for as well. So think about what's being built. You have to define the resources and what needs to be done. It has to be connected to a ZTC course being taught. We've been asked, hey, can I just write a textbook on something that I find very interesting? You are welcome to write textbooks on things that you find very interesting, but we cannot pay you for something just because it's interesting. It is a tiered stipend model based on the deliverable. We cannot pay you per hour because some people work faster or slower than others, and that would be unfair to those that work fast. It would also be unfair to the committee if you have someone who just wants to bleed it dry and work really slow. So it is a set amount per stipend per deliverable. The deliverables are based on the amount of initial labor to get it off the ground. So some deliverables are a lower price point than others, but we're also understanding that the bigger price points, we're assuming that those are not going to need as much updating, that they are more stable. So that's what the tiered stipend model is. You must have sign off from your department if you are building a textbook because it is one textbook per course per department. So if you are building a textbook for your class, for your department, you are the only one that is going to get paid that big stipend amount, which means we need the entire department to be aware that you're doing this because we will not be paying for someone else to build that same textbook. Now, if it needs peer editing in a couple years and that's a lower stipend amount, we could pay for that. So think about consulting with an OER coach. That could be someone from the OER committee. It could be someone who's already built OER. It could be a discipline lead from the ASCCC OERI. It could be me, your OER librarian. And this will help us really talk about your course need. What gaps need to be filled if you removed all commercial textbook content, you removed all commercial homework systems, and what do you need? And then let's look at existing OER that already exists out there. Let's look at the scope of the deliverable. What are you actually building? What do you have the capacity to build? And what do we have the money to fund? And then also look at the stipend model and the tiered model and say, hey, this is what actually works for me. Because it could be that you look at a price point and you think, oh, yeah, I want this price point, but I don't want to actually build a textbook. Well, then that's probably not going to be a good fit for you. Let's look at a patchwork course or ancillaries or something else. So the main way to think about this is adopt author last. So at the very, very beginning, what a lot of people do is they take the content that's already existing and they try teaching with it. And while they're teaching, they develop a comprehensive list of notes of a wish list, what you'd want to change, what you'd want to adapt, what works and what doesn't work, what you hate and what you love about it. That basically will create a table of contents for you on exactly how we could adapt and remix. This is what we recommend most people do. This is where you take an existing OpenStax textbook and you say chapters 2, 6, and 8 are not great in X, Y, and Z. We pull the entire thing over in LibreText, which takes 2 minutes, and then you can modify and adapt the content. And then finally, you have a fully remixed, curated new textbook without having to author from scratch. If you are in one of those information fields that's brand new that doesn't have a textbook, you're not in a GE class, you may have to author from scratch, but that's very niche and very unlikely. Look before you build, number one. So there's two things about looking before you build. Number one, we ask you to do an ego check. Is authoring truly necessary, or is this just an impulse you have? Across 115 community colleges statewide, especially for GE classes, a wealth of content already exists. There really isn't any need to be authoring from scratch for almost any GE class. There's tons of content already out there. And when you build on something that someone's already built, you get to build out more visuals, more graphics, more design elements, more specific case studies. You can look at culturally responsive pedagogy in a way you can't if you're just trying to get that scaffolded skeleton, course outline of record content built. Look for before you build two is what does already exist. There are lots of things in LibreText, OpenStax. The OERI has a ton of content. The Canvas Commons now has a ton of content. There's tons of discipline specific repositories. For instance, psychology has its own separate repository that was built by subject experts. Colleges have a lot of OER collections now as well. Lab manuals, slides, and assignments. There's also a lot of ancillaries that are built if you'd rather have ancillaries and you don't actually need textbooks. So then I also ask all faculty to really think about something called the Aesthetics Usability Challenge. So I have lost count of the number of times that I've told this story, but I sent a couple of very well used art textbooks to someone. And I said, hey, these are widely used across the state. Here they are in a digital format. They're used by Research One facilities across the nation. They are robust and would easily hit on our course outline of record. As far as I can tell, it's a non-subject expert. I sent them to the subject expert who said, these are trash. There's absolutely no way I can use them. They are not even slightly good enough. I took the exact same textbook and I printed it. And printed, it was over 1,000 pages. And I sent this person a PDF first on email. And I said, hey, check out the PDF, make sure. And again, they wrote back and they said, this is not comprehensive enough. There's no way it's good. I saw them at a meeting and I brought them the physically printed PDF, the 1,000 pages. And then they wrote me back and said, oh my God, this one's amazing. This is super comprehensive. This is actually too big and I might need to cut it down. And then I had to explain to them that it was the same book all three times, the first link, the PDF, and the printed copy. And honestly, they didn't believe me. I had to show them. I had to pull out chapter one and show them the digital version to see it. When you're scrolling through long pages of content, you don't realize how many pages of print content that would actually be. We don't realize how much digital content is that we're consuming. It's so much more, and we don't realize that in the digital format. So, really think about if you're struggling to evaluate or you think something's not comprehensive enough, print it out, export a sample chapter, and evaluate it. Also, understand that commercial textbooks, they throw everything in the kitchen sink into these books intentionally to appeal to a very wide audience, which actually makes the content less usable to students. Having curated content that isn't 2,000 pages long is actually going to be a more effective book for a lot of students to learn. So when you talk about choosing a final deliverable, there's an entire other video specifically on what deliverable is the correct one for you and how to go through that as a flow chart. But really, you're looking at either a standalone textbook. This can be printed. It can be read on your phone. It can be downloaded into an LMS. It can be read on websites. It can be bound and printed as physical copies or as PDFs. You have a patchwork course. This is where you're linking out to other content and maybe just have your foundational content in modular levels in an LMS. There's lab manuals and workbooks. These are things where often you have to print them for procedures. They often have local lab facility content. And then there's ancillaries like slides, test banks, maybe printable content, or maybe you need a homework system. Do a needs assessment. Confirm your CCN number, confirm your local course outline of record, and then ask yourself, what will make this course ZTC? What commercial content do you have to pull out in order to make this ZTC? Maybe it's just replacing a lab manual. Maybe it's replacing a paid homework system and a lab manual and a textbook. It could be a lot of things. And then ask yourself, who else is involved? Are there co-authors on this paper? Could you basically build out something as a department and split the labor? What's going to work best for you? Then you really need to talk to your full department. The OER committee cannot pay for duplicative content. We can't pay for 6 different faculty to all build their own textbook. That's redundant and duplicative. It doesn't make a lot of sense. So we do need one textbook per course per department. So we just need your department to be aware. If you're the only person in your department who wants to do this, then by all means, you're going to be good to go. But we still need the department to know about it. We've also had departments who didn't realize that it was going to be one per department per course. So we need your department to be aware. If there is any local politics within your department, we will need an email from your department chair saying what has been decided on. Some departments are actually saying that they're going to ask different authors to submit single chapters that then can be reviewed. So basically, then they can vote on who they want to author the book. Others might decide to split it between 2, 3, 4, 5 authors, where then basically each faculty is writing one chapter, but then everyone's going to use the same book. And then once the book is done, you can absolutely modify your version of the book. That's one of the beautiful things about OER. So really think about no sign off means that we can't pay you for it. You can absolutely still do it. We are happy to walk you through it. But if we're going to pay you for it, you need to understand that you are building, especially if it's a textbook, you're building for the entire department. If you're doing a patchwork course and you're doing it just for you, that's a little bit different, but still we can't just pay you to link out to content. We have to pay you for an OER deliverable. Funding sources and pre-approval. So the state of California gave all California community colleges some funds to get started. It's like seed funding. We also have some funds that we are asking for from administration through a resource request. So if the funding source is not confirmed, we can't promise a stipend. If you haven't confirmed with the OER committee what deliverables you're on the hook for, in the master ledger, your line item will be red. That means we haven't confirmed that everyone's on the same page about what you're actually delivering. So the OER committee will vote to approve the pre-approvals, and then you have to make sure that you've met with either someone in the OER committee or the OER librarian to confirm what deliverables you're actually on the hook for so everybody knows what you're getting paid for and what you're on the hook for. So in the actual faculty building phases, you get pre-approval, okay? The department knows that you're doing it. You are not expected to figure this out alone. The OER librarian is here to support you and guide you through it. There are OER coaches that can be built out through the OER committee. There are also discipline leads through the Academic Senate for Community Colleges Open Education Resource Initiative. And there are right now Friday office hours that will change every semester. That is specifically to help with live help and get assistance in the moment if you need someone to walk you through software. Also, if you're looking for a cohort model long-term, we are looking at potentially creating some sort of fellowship or cohort model if that is of interest to you or if that is of interest to your department. Then you have a completion checklist. So you've written something, you've curated something, it looks good enough, you're ready to go. Do an accessibility usability checklist. Is it ADA WCAG Title II compliant? The OER committee will not be policing that. That is in the hands of IT, but we do recommend that you go through it. Is it under a Creative Commons license? If we are paying you for something, it has to be under a Creative Commons license. Is it aligned with the IVC course outline of record? If you are building a localized derivative for your department, that means that it should be aligned with your course outline of record. And is it going to link directly to a ZTC course section? We cannot pay you for something if it does not lead to a ZTC section being taught. After the OER is done, you're going to submit a form. There's this form. It literally says, my OER is done. Pay me. That's the name of the form. It's going to collect a lot of stuff. It's going to collect the CCN number and your CID number, and it links out and shows you how to do that. That is all content we need to report back to the state. That's why we have that there. Once you submit that link, it goes to the OER committee for approval. It is a standing agenda item. If you're writing 3 different lab manuals, that's going to fill out the form 3 separate times. So fill out the form once per OER deliverable. It goes to the standing line agenda item for the OER committee. The next time the OER committee meets, we will vote to approve. And from there, it starts a very long process for stipend approval. So what you need on the form, there's a lot of stuff on the form. We've had people ask us, Rachel, can you just fill it out for us? Can you not do this? Can we just get paid without having to fill out the form? No. The form collects all the content we need in order to report back to the state. So you must have a published and publicly available link. That is the most important thing. And it must be under Creative Commons license. For us to upload it to Cool for Ed, which is the state referatory, it must be under Creative Commons license. We need to know what kind of resource type it is, the CCN number and the CID number, if applicable. They both have links in the form itself that you can link out to search for if you don't know them. Section info, ZTC connection, when is it going to be taught? ZTC, department sign off, and funding source. Those are all in the form because we have to have those in order to pay you. If you don't know what a CCN number is, we are happy to walk you through how to look that up, or you can come to the office hours and we can walk you through how to find that. If you need help with the form, Friday office hours are always an option. Finding the CCN in the link, I just recommend going really broad with your search strategies on that because the CCN website, if you just type in IVC and like a really simple key term, it'll come up. And then confirm submission, you can actually go to the IVC OER committee master program project management document and actually see that it's been submitted to the agenda. So how does this actually look from start to finish? You submit the form, we provide sign off, and then basically from there, it goes to the committee agenda. All right. Special timing requests. We have had people say, hey, Rachel, is there any way to streamline this? To be quite honest, I can't guarantee anything. No one in the OER committee can guarantee a streamlined timeline. It has to go to the OER committee. I am the OER librarian, but I'm not a queen. I cannot approve anything by myself. It has to be approved by the OER committee because we are stewards of the funds. All right, so when it goes to the OER committee, what are we actually looking for? Because we are not subject experts, we have no intention of policing our fellow peers. We are asking some very generic questions that are based on compliance. Is it openly licensed under a Creative Commons license? We will look for that. If you don't know which one to use, there's a whole other video on that. Is it connected to a section that is going to be taught ZTC? It must lead to a section being taught ZTC. Is it reasonable for the scope, right? If you wrote a single chapter and it's a 4-unit class, how is a single chapter reasonable? Someone's going to reach out and ask you. Is it aligned with the course outline of record? Does it have the CCN and CID number documented? And then the committee votes to approve. Everything is transparent. You are welcome to come. Anybody is welcome to come. We are looking for consistency, transparency, and trust. We are not trying to police our peers. And as someone who's not a subject expert, we're not going into the fine details. We're asking for the big picture elements. So after the committee votes to approve, the librarian, who is also the OER librarian, me, will route it to the Office of Instruction, who then has to send it out to your local department senior admin assistants. They will process it through the financial business office, and then it has to go up to the Board of Trustees. Each step is required. There are no shortcuts to it. I have seen it take as little as 2 months, and I've seen it take as long as 8 months to be approved. It has to be completed within the fiscal year. So On average, it takes a very long time. Please do not assume that the money is coming within 2 weeks after it's been approved by the committee. On average, I think it takes 6 months. Why payment takes so long? Honestly, it has to do with administrative review and our financial business office, which is above my pay grade. And then it does have to go up to the board for final approval and payroll processing. So it's not a one-time thing. Usually people see it attached to their normal payroll processes. However, I have also seen it done separately, and there has not been any consistency on that, and it is above the control of the OER committee. Realistic timelines, 3 to 6 months. The fastest I've ever heard was 3 weeks, but on average, it's 6 months. How stipends appear. Sometimes it's on the paycheck, sometimes it's not. The other thing I hear regularly is, how come you said it was going to be this flat amount and I'm not getting that amount? Whatever you have listed on your W-4, which is different for every single person, they will take out a different amount based on your W-4. We are also required to calculate an additional cost to match your benefits. So on top of what is being taken out, we have to match outside of that with additional funds for your CalPERS and CalSTRS. So it is a little different for everybody. In the actual master ledger, you can see how it's a little different amount based on where you are in your pay scales. So it looks a little different for everybody. So the amount you get, just know it'll probably be whatever has been taken out of your W-4. So it's a little different for everybody. So there are certain things that the OER librarian can help you with and certain things that I can't. I am absolutely happy to help with the form to submit in order for it to go to the OER committee. I can do OER agenda preparation. I can help with routing the stipends up to the Office of Instruction, and I can answer process questions. However, I cannot approve a pre-approval on my own. I cannot bypass or get involved in department approvals. If you're having local department politics, that's within your department. We don't get involved in that. We do not approve stipends alone. We cannot bypass any approvals, and we cannot push the business office or the board timelines in any way. So if for some reason you have not received your stipend after 3 to 6 months, feel free to reach out to the Office of Instruction and your senior admin assistant and say, hey, double checking, has this been done? And you're welcome to CC the OER librarian, but she doesn't have any authority to actually do anything at that point. All right, so if you've completed multiple resources, you say, hey, Rachel, I'm actually doing a textbook and a homework system because both are required. You're going to fill out the forms separately. Those are two separate examples. So also we have challenges. We had a math faculty who submitted 3 separate resources for 3 separate classes, and they received 3 separate stipends for them. So you can get a lot of money for this all at once, or sometimes it can be broken up. Sometimes the business office will look at it and say, wait a minute, why is it 3? Is this duplicative? So then maybe they only want to pay for it once. So we have to clarify, no, it's for 3 separate textbooks for 3 separate classes. So just know sometimes that happens. And so we just have to be open and communicative. And that's why we have such documentation for all of these things. Use your OER at other colleges. We get this a lot from adjuncts or from people who teach at multiple places. Can I also use this at other colleges? Absolutely. Yes, use it for anywhere and everywhere that you want. We recommend in the title putting something related to IVC so that IVC students know that this is a book for them specifically, but you are welcome to use it for any college you want. That's the whole point of OER and open repositories. Adopt it and teach it wherever you want, as long as the license allows, your OER can travel, which is one of the most beautiful things about it. Align with the course outline of record, we strongly recommend that you look at the major topics, lab requirements, unit level scope, and course objectives. Often there's a lecture section in your course outline of record. Make sure that that looks similar to your table of contents so that it is easy for others to adopt it. Design with student usability in mind. Often this means chunking. I know a lot of y'all don't like to chunk. You want to have these super long things that people scroll through, but the reality is that chunking your content makes it easier for students to absorb it in small amounts. Icons, consistent headings, visual cues, and alt text on all your images is absolutely essential and can make a huge difference with student navigation. LibreText builds a lot of that in for you. I know that a lot of people think that the LibreText interface isn't beautiful. It is built to be accessible and usable to student populations, and the chunking and those square boxes and icons that they do are very usable for students because students are very used to those square icon formats. Accessibility and usability review. Again, we will not be policing you. Our job is to believe you as a subject expert and make sure that we're hitting on compliance elements, but make sure that your document has proper headings, descriptive links, that a screen reader could go through it in an accessible order. You have visual accessibility with color contrast, Media and navigation has captions and transcripts. That's very essential. Perfection isn't required, but really think about the fact that your content needs to be accessible for all people. Creative Commons licensing is a really big part of this. If you do not have a Creative Commons license on it, it is not an open educational resource. This is one of the few things that we will check. If it does not have a Creative Commons license on it, we cannot approve it for a stipend approval. If you are receiving a stipend to make a ZTC class, all deliverables in this must be an OER, and that's per the Ed Code 78052. It must be a ZTC outcome for students, and the OER is actually the deliverable for it. What is the ZTC connection? So how do we get ZTC? We have people all the time who say, how do I build a ZTC deliverable? That doesn't make any sense. ZTC is an outcome for students. OER are the most sustainable outcome for that. But you could also, for instance, if you had unlimited money, just buy class sets and it leads to ZTC for students. You could link out to all the library resources in a patchwork course and that becomes a ZTC course. So really think about what you need to make a ZTC class and then make sure that you are also getting the ZTC label, which requires a bookstore label. And right now it requires senior admin to also check it in Banner for you. Two different timelines. So you have your faculty creation timeline and then you have the payment timeline. People have this idea that, oh my God, I've worked so hard on it, I'm going to wait to submit it until the last possible minute, but then they think they're going to get paid immediately. And that's not how that works. Once it's published and publicly available and it's being taught ZTC, go ahead and submit that link and we can start the payment timeline. So think about the fact that delays are not a judgment of your work. Slow payment timelines have nothing to do with you. They have to do with the fact that there's a lot of back-end admin. Also be kind to yourself if your timelines get pushed out. We're all surviving under late stage capitalism, doing a lot of other things, and we're asking you to build OER on top of it. It's a big lift, so please be kind to yourself. Why we still use this process. So fairness and equity is a big part of this. One of the biggest challenges that we want to avoid is having that unfair model of, well, why did they get paid this amount? I only got paid this amount. And with the different departments and disciplines, it can be very, very challenging to try to come up with what is fair and equitable. So that's why we have a tiered stipend model. It's also why we have the forms and the things we do, so we have accurate state reporting. And it's also to build trust. The Office of Instruction allowed the OER committee to be stewards of these funds. It is imperative that we have continued trust and that we are good stewards of what we're building. Special cases, multiple deliverables with multiple stipends. This has happened for classes that have a lot of commercial content that needs to be replaced. So just think about that each one you'll submit the form for. Each one needs to have its own separate published and publicly available link. Otherwise, it's part of a deliverable for one. Connect each to the correct course. Make sure it has a proper license and a ZTC label, and make sure that you're getting sign off for your department and you're getting pre-approval from the OER committee. So what you could do right now, check accessibility and course outline of record, confirm your Creative Commons license, confirm that your ZTC is going to be taught ZTC as a class section, submit each resource separately in my OER is done pay me form, get program leader or chair sign off before in your pre-approval, and come to the OER librarian office hours, which are usually on Friday. You can also reach out to the OER librarian for an appointment. So again, just to review, you submit the form, the OER librarian reviews the link and we agendize everything. It goes to the OER committee and then it goes to the payment process, which is long. Okay, payment timeline reminders, again, very, very wide. So please do not assume that you're going to get paid immediately. These are just review. What this process is not, it is never about discouraging faculty. We're not trying to create a billion hoops so that you don't want to do this. We're trying to make sure that we have equitable implementation across the entire IVC OER program. We are not trying to in any way discourage someone from doing this process. You can start teaching OER and then decide to go through the process. We just can't encourage you to get paid without going through this process. So think about it in terms of responsible use of funds, documented labor, make sure that every student has access, that we are building trust with administration, and that we have that sustainable infrastructure. This work matters a lot, and we want to make sure that we're honoring the work. We also want to make sure that faculty aren't feeling overworked and underpaid. And to be quite honest, even for the higher stipends, it's pennies on the dollar for the amount of work that you're doing for this work. So we're trying our best to make sure that we're honoring the amazing subject expertise and the labor that it costs to do this, and thanking you for what you're doing to the best of our ability. So if you have questions, come to office hours, email your OER librarian, submit each one separately, make sure that you're getting sign off from your department, or just being honest and open with your department if you're the only one in your department who's interested. And thank you so much for building OER and supporting ZTC pathways for students. And please remember, keep going, be encouraged. This work reduces costs, it removes barriers, it improves student success outcomes. It is an OER. OER is an equity intervention. It's also an instructional intervention. And it is absolutely a powerful thing when every student has access to the content first day. So thanks for listening to this longer explanation.